You can either take the red pill, you'll wake up, everything was a dream, or you can take the black pill, you can get torched.
Well, I suppose getting torched won't hurt that much. I don't feel anything.
Wait for it.
Oh, wait. I just got a new client.
Get torched! Get torched! Get torched!
I'm Wayne Carey, and this is The Truth Hurts.
Well, we're back for another episode of The Truth Hurts. I'm Ayrton Woolley with the King, Wayne Carey, and Duck. I can tell you, just about the whole of Melbourne, I think, has been looking forward to this episode.
Why? Do I look fresh?
You do look fresh. They say a week's a long time in football. Well, a week's a long time on Twitter and in podcasting as well. So we're just going to park that for a moment. We'll come back to that. I just saw as I was coming in, I was a little bit late. Apologies.
It's all right.
Mrs. had the car and caught an Uber in, so I was running a bit late. Walking down the street now, you pop with bloody trolley full of groceries. You look very domesticated.
Very unusual, isn't it, to see that? But no, I was away for 4 days, so just topping up on all the necessities that you need.
What's in your daily shop? You'd be pretty healthy, wouldn't you?
Well, just a lot of fruit, a lot of stuff for the kids' lunches. Yes. So, tiny teddies and little muffins and...
Find it funny that you make all their lunches, yet you would never cook for yourself,
yogurt,
pretty much, would you?
All of that. No, I'm not a massive cook. I like doing a barbecue. But no, I've just the necessities got out of the road there. But it has been a good week, hasn't it? I've, getting away, got a little bit of sun, as you can see here. Which is why I wore the sort of light, I don't know, what do you call that, light yellow, just so it brings out the glow.
Yeah, interesting colour.
But yeah, no, big weekend. Once again causing, everyone thinks that I've caused some sort of trouble because I used 2 words 3 times, which was to a question that I got asked on Twitter.
Yeah, well, let's delve into this. Let's go right back to the start of this, Duck.
What if I said 150? 150 times. What would be the difference? Who cares? Like the thing about my life and the reason why we started doing this, well, I thought the podcast, speak to the people, and the actual truth hurts, right? Now, the Herald Sun, Channel 7, Channel 9, Channel 10 have bathed off my crap for years, and as I said on my tweet after that, is most of it has been bullshit, made up, exaggerated, right? And when I say most of it, I mean most of it. It really has. So all of this stuff gets talked about and blown into all sorts of rumour and innuendo. So I got asked a question on Twitter.
Yeah, so let's take you back to your original tweet, which was, if your club gets a player that plays your position, that should always be used as motivation to have the best pre-season you've ever had. Difference between being good and great, absolutely nothing beats hard work. Now, that was, I assume, in regards...
It was in reference to, we were talking about Jack Ginnivan last week. Yep. But there's plenty of other players that do the same thing. It's all about opportunity. It's no different to what Grundy has sort of done now with Melbourne. He wants more opportunity because obviously Mac's gone. So there's plenty of players that could read that and maybe, who knows, maybe to tough it out.
Now, we'll touch on Jack Ginnivan a little bit later, but in response to that, you were firing off tweets left, right and centre, but one of the tweets...
That's the other thing I want to say. So I was completely sitting by the pool, pissing myself laughing at the banter, and then people going, "Is he okay? Is he all right?"
My phone started going off. This is Wayne okay? Can you check in on?
It was absolutely hilarious. I was finding it terribly funny. But as just getting back to before you talk about the tweet itself, so the amount of front pages that I've had over stuff and the amount of times that they've brought up the affair. Let's be honest. We all know what occurred. I've never played. I've never said I've had mental health issues, and I've never said to hide behind anything to stay out of the paper. They write whatever they want about me, just like they are Clayton Oliver now, and there's others they don't write about because people put their hand up and make excuses, and we'll talk a little bit about that a little bit later. But the amount of times in the last 20 years or more than 20 years that this has been brought up by mainstream media. Mainstream media has brought this up. So when this tweet comes to me and says, well, one of the things, why did you leave? Why did you leave?
How come
North?
you traded clubs? And you said, really?
I said, really. Yeah. Because if the kid on Twitter, I think Bulldog, was that him, Bulldog or something?
Yeah, he then wrote back to that.
Yeah,
Bloody Bulldogs, his name is.
Yeah, Bloody Bulldogs. So I wrote, really. And then and someone wrote, oh, well, he had an affair or something like that, which once again, everybody knows about. So, and I wrote, 3 times. Like serious.
So I'm going to play devil's advocate here for you, Duck. Do you think, I guess the response from some people might be, should you be joking about something like that? Or is it for you?
Get over it.
Okay.
Get over it. 20 years ago. I've learned to live with it. I haven't forgiven myself for it, but I've learned to live with it. So all of you wankers out there, learn to live with it. And if I say 150 times or 3 times, who gives a shit? Seriously. So it's the biggest beat up. And then you actually sent me a message saying, oh, this could blow up. And then I saw on there, and what's funny is not funny, because it's not funny, but it is 20 years ago. Right? More than 20 years ago. So, but then you start reading all the banter, people thinking this is something serious, and then you see a news headline from Channel 7 that have gone with it, and Channel 7 and these media outlets should know better than talk this bullshit all the time. It is absolutely disgraceful. With what's going on in the world now, and they make a story out of saying 3 times about something that happened 20 or more years ago, and they talk about it. They'll talk about it again when we have a premiership reunion next year. They'll bring it up again. But guess what? But they're allowed to. But I'm not allowed to say 3 times.
Do we need to take your phone away from you at certain times, do you think? Or?
I've always said there should be an app on your phone that you have to breathe, has a breathalyzer on it. But no, I was completely sane and wasn't. Actually, I might have had a couple of cocktails.
I think you might have
by the pool, but nothing untoward. And was like I said, the 3-hour time difference, 3 hours behind Singapore is. So I was having a lot of fun, and the reason why I left sort of earlier, because it's obviously later here, but no, it was. I'm not worried about the banter that I had on Twitter at all. It's what it creates and what people think that they have the right to say to you. And I don't care about the nitwits that have a go at me on Twitter, because at the end of the day, I've had a fair share of media. So some nitwit that says something derogatory on Twitter is going to bother me. So
that's what you said to me after. It feels like some of these tweets are obviously to try and get under your skin, and you ignore a lot of them. But you're saying this response was to show that.
It's and people are saying, oh, why should he say that? Well, I don't bring these things up. People bring it up to me, and if am I not allowed to respond to it?
Well, no, of course you are now.
I am. And by the way, I don't work in the media anymore. And if I want to say 3 times or 155 times, or I want to talk about what I have done in my life, then don't I have that right to do what I want to do?
No, that's fair.
A few, like I said, a few nitwits that want to, and I love some of the nitwits are great. And let's be honest, they're not, they're not someone that you should be worried about. And I know some people do worry about, trolls and when they get something negative said about them. But I've had enough of things said that sort of it is water off a duck's back. But I've never used excuses like some others do. And maybe Clayton Oliver, and let's talk about mental health, because that's a part of what we do here on The Truth Hurts. And I do a lot of stuff around mental health with GBS. And what's going on in the world at the moment. Did you know there's 9 suicides a day, right? I mean, it is.
Is that in Australia?
It is a serious thing, mental health. And the media, the Australian media, and you only have to look at the David Beckham, documentary that's just come out over there and what they did to him and how he was nearly a broken man. What they can do to you is absolutely horrendous. Like it is. And they just go and go and go until they break you. They broke Alistair Clarkson earlier this year. They just went at him. He had to take time away from the game. And then they go, oh, poor Alistair. Oh, Lord, sorry, Alistair. This is what they do. This is why they are despicable in how they go about it. And right now they're doing it to Simon Goodwin and they're doing it to Clayton Oliver.
Yeah, so on Simon Goodwin, while you're on a roll on Twitter, you said you thought it was a smear campaign for Goody, and so you think they're trying to make... When do coaches get the blame for what their players do? And I wrote, once again being cheeky and facetiously, oh geez, sorry Dennis, #sorry Dennis, because what is Dennis Plagan to blame for my mistakes? The difference between, and I know I'm just saying the difference because of the Glenn Bartlett allegations on Simon Goodwin and some of his behaviour outside of football. So that you just answered my question, and that is, so what? Once you've had an allegation or someone has questioned you in any way, then you are open slather. No, but I'm saying that's the difference between Dennis.
Because we all know there's people in the media. We know there's people in the media. We know there's people that have stepped away from the game and stuff that have made mistakes. And we also know, I know that people in the media know a lot more about people within the media that do very similar stuff to what Clayton Oliver and others do. And there's plenty there, but they don't talk about one another. They don't bring it up. It's common knowledge. And then getting back to the mental health side, and what is really disappointing is that, people do use it. And when people get caught or get into trouble, people do use the mental health side as an excuse, right? And it has happened and it's been littered with it. When are the media going to stop on Clayton Oliver or Simon Goodwin? When they have a breakdown? Is that when? Or when they put their hand up? That's not saying that they won't have a mental health issue given the amount of coverage that they've received. I have no doubt, and by the way, I haven't spoken to Goody. I've texted him. We don't speak, all that often. We played footy together. We're mates, whatever. And I'm not sticking home and everyone saying, as if you'd want Wayne Carey sticking up. No, because I understand when there's a pile-on like there is at the moment. I have no doubt in my mind that he's sitting there and he's going through a real difficult time. Now, and I'm sure Clayton Oliver is as well. Neither have put their hand up yet and said they're battling anything publicly. There's been a statement from Melbourne. It's when will they be happy?
Okay, well,
when they put one of these guys actually in hospital.
Well, I'll ask you this then. So I'll use the Clayton Oliver situation as an example. There was the trade conversation that happened, which emanated from some question marks around his behaviour and maybe Melbourne giving him a bit of a wake-up call. Now, they haven't said that publicly, but that's what we understand, that Melbourne weren't happy with some of his behaviour. Do you think a player like Clayton Oliver, who's on $1 million a season over however many years, should be held to a higher standard than Joe Blow in the street? Because he's in a professional sporting environment.
Young men.
Doesn't
matter. Doesn't matter. In actual fact, you could argue the other way, that it is high pressure. And people say that it's a privilege, but it is high pressure. So
if Melbourne were unhappy with his behaviour, what level of scrutiny is there allowed to be, do you think, for Clayton Oliver? Because we know that Melbourne were not happy with him. He's moved in with Max Gawn and they weren't.
I'm not talking about Melbourne. Melbourne employs Clayton Oliver. I'm talking about the attention that it gets and now the pile-on. And now guess what? Well, Joel and Clayton were hanging out that night. And now it's just every little thing that comes out until they eventually break this kid who's a 4-time best and fairest winner. By the way, he must be doing some things right. He's won 4 best and fairest in this time. So You know, and I'm not suggesting he hasn't got things he's got to work through. What I'm talking about here is just the continuous coverage on and now every little thing. It's just going on and on and on. And like I said, we saw a coach actually have to take time away from the game this year. And now, because he's done that, the commentary has stopped. So is that what it takes? Do you have to, you know, people just put their hand up and say, I've got issues and I'm stepping away from the game, and then it stops? Is that it? Is that the answer?
So when you're
I'm asking you a question.
Well, I mean, we've seen with Alistair Clark, so I think it's proven that people take a step back when anyone mentions mental health. I'm not saying that has to happen in this situation.
it's you know, like I said. So getting back to the original point, me being facetious and saying 3 times to a Twitter question is not exactly headline news.
Fair enough.
Yeah?
Fair enough.
It's just, I mean, when is enough enough? I really, anyway, on to a few lighter things. Well, not really lighter things, by the way.
Well, we've just got so much Twitter interaction this week that I'm going to go back online here. I think it was in regards to Simon Goodwin, someone sort of suggesting it was related to, some issues he may or may not have been having off the field. They mentioned that he's selling his jumper. So he's selling his premiership jumper from, I think it might have been 98, online. Someone asked you, would you sell your premiership jumpers, 96, 99? Would you ever consider that if you...
Well, I got asked that question on Twitter, and my answer was, and I didn't go into detail, but we sold... Arch and I have a friend called Marinepi. He was a North Melbourne supporter, used to come down to training. He's a friend of a lot of the players, but in particular Arch and I. And then, obviously, I left North. I'm not sure why. And got asked the question, would give up something, that's worth something substantial for Marinepi to build him a house. So he has ramps, he has cerebral palsy, so ramps and all that sort of stuff. And Arch put his Guernsey up and I put my Guernsey up, and it got $40,000. So I don't have my 99 one. But I wouldn't sell them, to answer your question. But I'm not sure. Do we believe that? Has Simon Goodwin actually come out and said that they're his Guernseys?
No, he's in the photo. He's holding the jumper up.
Oh, he's holding the jumper up. Is it him actually holding the jumper up, saying that he's selling that Guernsey? Because I wouldn't believe it if that's all it is.
Unless it's been a very well mocked up thing. It appears to show an auction.
Well, that's okay.
That's what it appears to show. Someone may have mocked it up, but it's Goody who appears to look like him closer to now than, say, when he was a player, holding up his jumper. I mean,
and saying this is for sale.
You don't see him saying it, so
right.
I know.
Well, I don't. Like I said, I don't know.
I know you're very skeptical.
But the only time I think you'd get rid of something like that would be if it's for a charity or whatever. So no other people.
You've got rid of 99. I know that you've got the 4 little premiership cups at home that you wheeled out when I came over that time, which we've spoken about before.
3.
3. Sorry.
We only won 2, but you know what the premiership cups are for.
So 96, is that anywhere there?
I know where it is.
So it's not, you don't have it on the wall? Or?
No. It's just in storage.
And did you do anything with it? Or?
Oh, it's framed.
Yeah.
But it's just
So when players talk about their medallions, or just so they don't sit pride of place for you in terms of, so you can look at it and go, oh, geez, I played in that.
No.
Do you think most players would be like that, or do you think a lot of them have their little their pool?
Oh, look, I've spoken about this before, but my mate Corey, he's in his office a lot, and he likes the football memorabilia stuff about when we played and pictures of grand finals and things like that. Which I think when I go in there, I find myself fascinated by it, because I don't remember things, and it's good to look back on and feel proud of. And so when I see people that do display their stuff, I'm not critical of them. Yep. It's just not my cup of tea.
Just a question without notice here. I saw actually, it was just on TV yesterday. I was playing a bit of poker on a Monday night. I do down the pub, and it had in the background North Melbourne, Geelong. I assume from '94, the Mick Martin Gary Ablett game. So what are your memories of that game? Just while we're on North Melbourne,
I kicked 6. What?
Just in that
Well,
last.
that's what I remember. I remember I kicked 6, and Gary Ablett kicked the last goal of the game. That's what I remember after the siren.
Yeah, okay, thanks. So I was hoping for a bit of a deeper,
It was it was a great game. We got off to a flyer. Geelong were on top at half time. Third quarter, I think I might have kicked 4 in the third to get us back into the game.
I think.
and then close final quarter, and it went right down to the last 2 seconds.
What would Mick Martin say about that game now? How was he after
Mick
that?
beat Gary Ablett that day,
Yeah.
so he would feel very proud that he beat one of the greatest players of all time. But we, as we all did, we felt, we're not robbed, because at the end of the day we got beat, but disappointed we didn't go into a grand final, I guess.
Yeah, thanks.
But no, yeah, it's Mick. I reckon we might have given Mick a bit of a ribbing about it on the Mad Monday or the week leading up.
Oh, that soon after. So
Yeah. Well, you don't want to dwell on it. You want to get straight.
What, you didn't reenact it or anything like
No,
that?
but we would have had a bit of fun around it. But he was Gary Ablett's master on that day. He played an incredible game. Just it just floated over the top of his hand, and
When I look at Mick Martin, because I am a fair bit younger than you, I started watching football, and my memories are late 90s, early 2000s are probably my first memories. And so Mick was, slowing down in the early 2000s and then went to Carlton, which was obviously, didn't really work out. What made Mick Martin so good?
he's the strongest player I think ever to play the game in terms of bench press. So it was just an unbelievably quick, so a very good athlete, and he was tough. He made you earn every kick, and he copped a bit. Remember some of the players he's playing on, like Ablett Senior and Lockett, and these guys are not exactly little guys that allow you to push them around. They give a bit back. So Mick copped a few off both of those in particular and others. But yeah, just so really quick and really strong. But he, just like all players, sometimes he had the better of, those types of players, the best, and then other days they got the better of him. But that's the nature of playing fullback.
Absolutely. Well, while we're still on football, of course, the trade period last week, we spoke about Jack Ginnivan, and at that stage, Lockie Schultz trade had been done. Jack Ginnivan hadn't requested a trade, or Collingwood hadn't allegedly shopped him around. There's a bit of consternation about how that actually played out. But he's now a Hawthorn player on a longer term deal. You said at that stage you wanted players to stay and fight. Can you understand it in some ways as well, given that Collingwood in the last 2 years? So Jack Ginnivan got 40 goals as a 19-year-old. They got Bobby Hill. A year later, they get Lockie Schultz. Can you understand why he was maybe feeling threatened and him thinking this? Oh,
of course, which is why, we spoke about it last week. But there's the players have more options now. So
now that's happened, though, would you do that deal if you were Jack Ginnivan? Because you said you'd like to see him stay and fight, but if there's 4 years on the table, that's pretty hard to resist.
No, I think he's made probably the best business decision for him.
Yep.
My tweet and the reason for it was more about players that, use it as motivation when they get someone in that is trying to take your position and simply don't allow them to get it. He's gone to a club that he'll get more opportunity at, without doubt. Now that, as you said, Bobby Hill now is he's won a Norm Smith, so his confidence and that should be his motivator now, to be that consistent, be more consistent from a week to week basis, and obviously getting Schultz in, and no, good. I'm happy for Jack.
How do you think you'll be received by the Collingwood supporters when we get to?
Look, he'll I dare say he'll get the boo or two. So Grundy got a boo, and he didn't want to leave the club.
Yeah,
I think the supporters forget that a lot of players don't drive leaving. I think Jack might have had something. You know, I think he well, you know, you see the writing on the wall once again. Not the way I would respond, but then you know, I got a lot of feedback about that and said, oh, well, of course you wouldn't be worried about it, and you know, and I get that too, but I also understand that I didn't think about that. I just always thought just train harder.
So Ginnivan has gone to Hawthorn, as we just mentioned. We spoke to Justin Lepich as well, which has gone up live this week and got a big response. Some great insight into his coaching philosophies and how he's evolved over time. He spoke about Jack Ginnivan. I wonder how much that Friday night, as part of an overall picture with him, played into Collingwood's thinking in terms of, well, if he's got some currency now, we've got the small forwards, we've got some concerns about his behaviour. Like, did you get the impression that through what Lepper said that they're not thrilled with that?
I think with what he said was he didn't think it was a great decision.
Yeah.
Clearly it worked out okay. Does that come into their thinking? I tell you what will happen is at least Schultz will get a few free kicks. So, you know, I wonder if the trend continues for Jack when he goes into a Hawthorn jumper.
It'll be interesting, won't it? It'll be very interesting to see how he's received. The AFL's thinking about starting the season in Sydney. I'm just going to read you some copy. This is by Riley Beveridge, afl.com.au. The AFL has floated with clubs a Sydney-focused split round to begin the 2024 season, which would see both the Giants and the Swans hosting blockbuster standalone fixtures across an earlier weekend of action. So we'll start a weekend earlier. It's understood the proposed round one fixture, which was distributed to clubs last week, is not final, but would feature GWS against Collingwood on a Saturday night before Sydney play Melbourne on the Sunday, and then the normal season openers would be played the following week. Now, the NRL is over in Vegas at the time, so it feels like they think it's an opportunity, but I don't know what you think about that. It feels...
Well, what it does is it puts GWS sort of not on the map because they're already on the map, but to start the season off with a bang against Collingwood up in Sydney would get a lot of... They would still get a very, very good crowd for that because Collingwood gets a good crowd anywhere.
I know Collingwood's pushing it, but surely the Collingwood fans deserve... I mean, they've got 100,000 members in Melbourne.
Well, they get it the next week.
I know, but it's round one. It's all the anticipation. I don't know. I don't think it's a great way to start the season. Bigger issues.
I don't. Yeah,
you don't care.
No, I don't really. I think it's good for GWS. It's obviously not about Collingwood as much.
But so that Thursday night, Carlton, Richmond, Iowa. I mean, I think.
But why should they own that?
They don't have to own it, but I think it's a Thursday night at the G is the way to go, I reckon.
Anyway, it's not going to happen.
Just still on the Pies, Mick McGuan.
Yeah,
he's been at work on Twitter as well, Mick.
Has he?
I actually work.
Does he get asked whether he's
no, maybe for different reasons.
Why he left Collingwood and
loves his footy. Mick worked with him at RSN actually some time ago, and he would still go out to trainings and watch pre-seasons, and he really follows it closely.
He's a very astute football judge.
Absolutely, and so he's been coaching out at Keilor for some years. So there was a video that Collingwood posted of Brendan Bolton and the defensive group before the grand final. They were pointing towards this inner sanctum experience, and it was Brendan Bolton with a little, I don't know, you'd say it's a jar of nail polish or whatever you would describe it, and he's putting it on a finger of each player, and it was to signify that he said, I don't want you to come off the ground with any nail polish left on that, as if to say, be spoiling, you'll be tackling. It was sort of like a theme so they'd be locked in and know, look down at that and know that I've got to go hard. And Mick, his first response was all about themes with this ? Each their own, I suppose. And then his next response was, love to see Pants, Banksy, Monkey, Brownie, Dakes, Ned, Chris O'Reilly, Stark and Shorey all put someone before they ran out. Good luck with that.
Well, that's clearly not why they won the grand final, is it?
It's funny how times have changed in terms of finding themes, and
that might have put me right off the game, to be honest.
A bit of nail polish. Well, obviously, maybe Brendan Bolton knows his defensive group quite well.
We recently spoke about to Danielle Laidley, Yeah.
Yes.
So we're talking about the reason why I'm coming back to nail polish.
Yes.
And if you watch her documentary, she talks about the first time she sort of thought, you know, is there something a little bit different about me when she was really young? Because she saw the nail polish and she went away and painted her nails. Well, Carter painted his nails the other day.
Did he?
Yeah. So I thought, Carter,
Well,
he's only 4.
Often kids do that when they're younger, don't
I know,
they?
which is, and by the way, each their own if you want to paint your nails. But I would have thought not great motivation before a grand final to be sitting there painting your nails. But they won.
They did.
Where would have he come up with that?
I don't know. It's funny because I don't really
Because you don't spoil with your fingernails, by the way. You spoil with your knuckles.
I don't really associate Brendan Bolton with being that type of coach either. Like the persona that he always put off was this sort of more intense.
We've got to delve deeper into that.
Well, maybe we'll find out a bit more later on. We saw the Caulfield Cup on the weekend. Always interesting in this time of year, seeing the big races and what comes from them. This one, the talking point was Mark Zara, $50,000 fine, 7 meeting suspension for overusing the whip in the straight. I always find this pretty funny because if you're the connections...
Not funny.
Well, not funny, no.
Would you like to be whipped?
No, I wouldn't like to be whipped. They are padded whips, though. I'm reliably told the horses don't feel a lot.
I'm just...
But is it not a bit strange that if you're the connections, you just want him to whip it the whole time if it means he's going to win the race? If it's the difference between winning and losing in racing.
Well, that's why there's a discussion around that the penalties maybe have to be higher, and if you do break that rule, you lose the race.
So he's not missing. He doesn't lose that race. He's not missing any big races. It seems,
Well, is that and that's the question that you have to ask yourself. Is that a penalty? You know, and I think it might have been Jared Waitley. I heard him use a couple of examples, like that'd be like Mitchell Stark stepping over the no ball line, like, you know, half a metre over the no ball line and getting a wicket, and that still being out, even though it's a no ball, like stuff like that. So maybe they do. Maybe, you know, they do have to look at it, because at the end, is that the difference between winning and losing? I think, well, clearly it is.
Yeah. So should we even have whip rules? I mean, I know they're trying to change the image of racing.
Well, they came out. They've been in for a fair while now.
Yeah. Well, it just seems a bit Mickey Mouse if you...
Well, it is Mickey Mouse if you don't get the result taken off you.
Yeah. Last week we had some coach press conferences that we showed after the game. Interesting what's transpired in the past 7 days, Duck. So we had Michael Pryor, the West Coast AFLW coach.
Apologised.
So
that.
He's apologised after he was upset that they had to face one of the top teams. That was always going to happen. In the UK, the MK Dons coach, well, he was sacked. So he was the one who said we always shoot ourselves in the foot, that one. And then the third guy says his players were shithouse. Well, he didn't get sacked, but that's because he's also the chairman. So.
Yeah, so he saved. Well, that's what happens on the Truth Hurts. We highlight something and something gets done about it.
Such huge reach. I saw, speaking of English football, I saw Ange Postecoglou. He's become so he's now holds the record for the most points in his first 9 games as manager in the Premier League of anyone. So they beat Fulham 2-0. Amazing what he's doing over there. He's fascinating listening to Ange.
He is.
He's got a lot of different philosophy.
Story.
I'm just going to bring up a few little life things with you, Duck. And I know I always do this with a bit of trepidation because I know we travel on different planes. Like you, in terms of, you know, you generally have people waiting on you and looking after you, and I've got to go out and do this sort of stuff myself. So on the weekend, I've had this door stop that's broken. So now the door just swings open in the bedroom, and I want the door stop so I can, and I'm trying to work out what doorstop to buy firstly, then where to screw this and that.
With everything that's going on in the world, this is one of your big issues.
Well,
a doorstop.
I can't do it. I can't do it. Every time something comes up in the house,
just grab one of those snakes. What are they? You know,
what are the door snakes? They look ridiculous. So you're telling me the question I have for you is if something like this happens in your house, are you able to Are you able to fix it?
The least handy man, handy person in the world. Cannot flat out hanging a picture. So you know what you do? You hire a hubby.
Sounds
It's
dangerous.
no, you can hire a
Sounds dangerous.
You hire a hubby.
Do you? That's an app,
There's
is
a
it?
no. There's a company. I think you just hire some guy to come around and do it for you.
So you're not a
called hire a
handy.
hubby.
You're not a handyman.
No,
you don't.
no.
You don't cook.
I absolutely
What do you do
atrocious.
in your spare time?
Hey?
You're just a full-time tweeter.
I'm a tweeter and everything else apparently.
Well, speaking of food, now this is the second of three personal things I'm going to bring up. Do you get hangry?
Angry?
Angry when you're hungry?
Yeah, I know what hangry is.
Yeah, okay. Well, just for the
No. Normally, no. For instance, if I was hungry here, I wouldn't be getting all edgy. Or the only time is when you're being dragged through shops or something like, you know, shopping and you don't really want to be there. And if you're a little bit hungry, then I get agitated with that.
Because I'm going to throw my partner Katie under the bus a little bit here. I know sometimes that if she hasn't eaten, and at the moment because we've got a young one, it happens a little bit where there's a big gap, and you could just see that it's almost like there's this chemical reaction going off, and it's not the real her. It's like just get her a bit of food because if you can do the.
Yeah, I think you can be agitated. Not angry is probably the wrong word.
Okay, well hers is definitely angry. So if she listens into this, maybe make sure you get a sandwich in for so keep our sanity at home. The final one was actually myself on the weekend. I get quite distracted when I'm on my phone, supposedly, particularly if I'm on hands free when I'm driving. My missus gets a little bit nervous, but this was not driving. I was taking the bins out. So it's about 20 metres down the driveway. I was then going to walk to the bottle shop, which is 700 or 800 metres away, get a couple of little Captain Morgan and Cokes on a Wednesday night. Anyway, someone called me as I was taking the bins out, and before I knew it, I was at the bottle shop, and I still had the bins in my hands at the I'd wheeled them across this little bridge and got to the bottle shop before I had them. I realised I was just talking to a mate on the phone.
No, that's what I was going to say. What were you talking about? Well, it must have been deep in thought.
We were talking
what
about.
Are you up to no good?
No, we're going to Byron this week for AFL 9, so we were talking about.
So Katie, you know what? She should take note of that because so you're basically planning, a big weekend with the boys, and you're that encapsulated in that you wheel a York.
So there's this path. So we're in a little
what
park.
You talk. It's the topic.
I thought, what are these people thinking of me as I'm walking past? Well, maybe they're not thinking anything, but
probably stealing a bin.
They
get stolen.
Do you? That doesn't happen.
No, I wander around.
Yeah. I pace when I'm on the
phone. Yeah. But I don't think I'd notice if I had a bin in my hand. But I do wander, and depending on what the topic and who I'm speaking to is how deep you go. That's why I asked you. Like you're clearly up to no good. What you're organising, who's delivering the beer or whatever.
So I'll speak about this next week after the fact, but it's one of the great weekends for anyone who hasn't been. I suggest you get a team together. So AFL 9s, if you don't know, smaller field. It's meant to be non-contact, but there's a bit of contact. We get into the Gold Coast on the Thursday. There's about 10 blokes. Most of them are from Tassie. So, naturally we'll have a very quiet one on Thursday. Just settle in to make sure we're right for the Friday. No, so Thursday will be solid. Friday, you play 3 games. First game about 2 o'clock. Last one.
How'd you get a game in this when you're flat out getting a kick in an 18-man?
Well, it's
got more space.
This is over 35s.
Oh, okay.
The first.
Are you in the 1s or the 2s?
No, the 1. Well, I've won a couple.
Oh, there's only one. Only one team.
I won a couple of.
So in other words, this is what I've worked out. This is what I've worked out. There was 10 guys that wanted to go, and
there's no selection. There's no selection process.
Okay.
The first year I went up there, actually, did win the Coleman up there, but I was playing on this bloke. I felt a bit. I reckon he was about 55, and I actually had 6 in the first half, and of the first game, and I started thinking 10. I've got to kick 10, but I blew up. I finished with 6. I finished with 6. So it's a bit of a running joke now that day 1 is when I deliver for the team. Day 2, I don't. So then there's the finals are on the Saturday. So it's great because you go out, you have a few drinks,
Yeah.
but you've got a purpose.
And
So
how many teams involved in the whole thing?
I think there's there's 3 or 4 different divisions, and there's probably like 10 teams in
Each one. Yeah. So in other words, if you're a lovely young lady or anyone for that matter, don't go anywhere near Byron Bay.
Well,
Because
I just left a message for Katie in that last topic. There'll be no young ladies anywhere in Byron Bay.
no, I just mean you just stay away if you got all you nitwits running around.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there will be some single guys in our team, so they'll be on the prowl, no doubt.
Talking about nines, I was, as you know, we were sitting there doing my tweeting in Singapore, and I ran into a few of the guys that play footy over in Singapore, and went and watched the Navy boys play a game, and it's very similar. They sort of almost play on a soccer ground with the goals up. They don't really have the point. They don't even have point posts.
Yep.
So it's either a goal or nothing. And that was a very open game. But I got asked to go. I caught up with a few people the night before through the GBS, and had a couple of quieties and with them. And then they said, "Oh, the Navy's playing tomorrow." And I said, "Oh," and Big Dipper was there, and he said, "Well, yeah, we'll come and watch." And then as you do, sort of got there and thinking it was going to be a pretty rough and ready sort of a game. She was as open as you'll ever see. I reckon I was there for. I didn't stay. It was bloody hot too. Hot. No, but I reckon I was there for say half an hour, 45 minutes, and I reckon I saw about 80 goals. It was just up, bang, down one end goal, and then the reverse of that. It was just goal after goal after goal. So it was a bit of fun, but just paying the respects to the people that defend our shores.
That's very
country.
good of you.
They were nice guys.
A few blokes in my team actually said we should get you along to play nines if your calves are
when
up.
when the shoulders comes good. I probably could do all right with one arm in that comp.
Well, I said we might be able to find a spot for you down back. I don't know. You've got a bit of defence. You can't. I don't think we could both fit in the same forward line. You'd be maybe a good decoy for me. I don't move that quickly, but geez, I know where to go, Duck. You
read it, do you? Yeah. I can't even picture. It'd be good to come out and watch just for the comment. Do you wear a helmet?
No, I don't wear a helmet.
Oh,
no.
okay.
No, I don't. Not athletically gifted at all, but just manages to kick goals all the time. Anyway,
right. We'll get an
update. We've got some feedback, lots of feedback, because we've just been pumping. Have you noticed how much content's been going out lately? Like Danny Laidley, Justin Lepich, and last week's episode, you spoke about your daughter finishing high school.
High school, yep.
Yep. So
only Carey ever to finish high school.
So this is from Belongdar6032 on Twitter. Duck talking about his daughter graduating from high school reminds me of Daryl Kerrigan talking about his daughter in The Castle. Now, I've got a confession to make. I've never watched The Castle. So,
really?
Yeah. Am I in Australia?
It's a classic Aussie movie, that. Great movie.
Bit more your vintage, perhaps. Is that why I haven't?
No, well, yeah, probably.
Yeah. This is from Collective Sartori. Great stuff. Both you blokes on point today. Not a single hangover between you. It does make a difference coming in sharp and seeing you sharp, Duck, and myself.
When have I come in here under the weather?
Oh, I reckon I saw you one Monday there. You said, I just had a couple on yesterday. Just on Ben Mackay, and we're going to leave the trade stuff. It's just been bubbling along. But as a North fan, I was happy Ben Mackay left and gave the club pick 3. Couldn't be happier as he checked out mid-season. I remember when Dangerfield left the Crows, he played his heart out for Adelaide until the final siren. I think that was one of your points about Ben. Yep. Donto Martios. 10 weeks ago, Duck called Mackay a green shoot and was something North fans could look forward to.
But did I? Yeah. Did I say he needs watering?
That one tickled my pants.
Halfway through the year, he was a green shoot.
And now he's a washed-up 25-year-old who can't play.
You heard the tweet, the thing before, the message before, saying that halfway through the year he checked out. He was a green shoot, and then they forgot to water him.
Question for Duck. Do you think Buddy would have dominated as much as he did if he'd played back in the 90s and had real actual defenders play? This is from JL Rob. Real actual defenders playing him like Arch, Ruse and Jacko.
It's a hard one to answer. He's an unbelievable talent. The game was different, so the physicality element of it, hard one. I think if you're a great player in any era, you'd adapt to whatever era you go into. If that's not the one you actually playing. So the simple answer is yes.
This is from Adrian Haggerty. Awesome, boys. As a Carlton supporter, I was never enamoured with Duck during his playing days. Obviously a ripping player, but he himself and Bruce from Channel 7 seemed to make it easy to dislike him. I now love his honesty and forthright opinions, and this podcast is on my don't miss list each week. Do you think the podcast has changed any sort of perceptions of...
Don't
care?
That's not what we're doing, is it?
No,
Change perception?
But you're telling your truth, though, and so I wonder...
Yeah. No, well, I just think that you can sit on here openly and talk freely without worrying about, for instance, if we were to do this on Channel 7 or even Triple M, it'd be sitting in the makeup chair for 2 hours before we came on. We can't have that. This is all natural. And what comes out of our mouth is natural.
You really are glowing too this week. Now, this is from Craig Slater. It was funny when Duck said, "What, is he a plumber?" in regards to Lockie Schultz last week, Collingwood recruit. He was drafted as a mature age recruit and completed his apprenticeship as a plumber while playing VFL. So there you go. There's a bit of trivia, trivia from Craig. He's going to come in with a bit of pressure now, Lockie Schultz, isn't he? Because Pies fans love Jack Ginnivan too, didn't they? So,
yeah. Well, there's a lot of players under prep. Ben, you just spoke about Ben before. You go there with these price tags, and they get given bigger money than what they're worth. Let's be honest. And if they don't perform, then I think that's when pressure can come on. So if you do leave a club to go to another club for money, right, and more opportunity, but if you do that, then that does come with an added pressure, and that's the sort of pressure that the media should talk about. I guess not other things.
Duck, I saw, this is from Benny. Duck, I saw Trent Cotchin, part of his book, where he mentioned how Damien Hardwick spoke after the loss to Essendon earlier this year. He described the Bombers as spuds. Do you think they'll use that as any sort of motivation when they play the Suns and or Tigers?
Yep. So there's some players will automatically take it as an insult. Maybe those that know that they're okay, they'd take that on board, and then there would be some that would go in one ear and out the other, and there'd be some that wouldn't even have read it.
Would Brad Scott ever use anything like that, do you think, or not?
Oh, I think if you can get a bit of an advantage out of it. I mean, it is quite...
it made me laugh because I just pictured David Hardwick saying it.
It's and I think it's great.
He said, "These guys are a bunch of spuds,
and you're not even as good as them." Now, see that? I think that's firm, but fair. I really liked it. I don't know what you thought.
No, I thought
it was quite good.
And Richmond has dominated Essendon in recent years, so he probably has reason to say that.
So Dennis Pagan would have definitely used that.
Now, these ones are related to the Danny Laidley interview you did. This is from Mick Z. Given what we know now, it's absolutely amazing how well Danny did coaching North, especially considering North's many issues at the time coming out of a successful era. I guess my question to you is how, having heard her last week in the way she spoke about that, was there anything that surprised you in terms of dealing with that as a coach and putting themselves through that as a coach with that in the background?
What I took from part of what she said was, living with the burden, and I guess living a lie and looking your players in the eye while living with that and asking for their honesty and, giving their all and being truthful to one another and all of those things that coaches say, but at the same time living, this lie that you're, holding within and can't tell anyone. And so you feel like, what I took from it, how she felt like a fraud and, and that burden and how much that just grew and grew and grew. And clearly was more so when she was a coach than when she played.
This is from Caleb. Great chat, you two. Going back to what Duck said earlier this week, don't we just want to see people being happy? Danny may have her social challenges, but she's probably happier than she's ever been, which is great. Now, reading all the comments, I must admit, surprised. I was expecting them to be maybe more negative than positive just because of how society is and social media, but on our social channels, they were overwhelmingly positive. There was a few. Were you expecting the kind of response maybe that you got from this interview? Because it is a touchy subject, and people have very strong opinions on.
Well, I think what it does show you there are people out there that have got a brain and have got a heart, and at the end of the day, we're all humans, and and that's what the world needs to understand right now. So for those people that were positive, well done. For those that are negative, they'll be forever like that, and they would see negativity in just about anything. And there are people like that, which is sad because in some ways that's a mask they wear. People that are like that, and for whatever reason they feel that that's what makes them feel good, to be nasty to someone else or say something nasty. I actually feel sad for people that live like that. That would prefer to try to hurt someone to make themselves feel good. It's a pretty sad life, to be honest.
This is from JJ, and it's an interesting question, I think, in the overall picture of Danny's story and how we talk or cover gay issues or trans issues. When Jason Ackermanis wrote this is from JJ. When Jason Ackermanis wrote his article advising gay players not to come out because it was not really a safe space in the AFL and wider community, he was hammered and I think accused of being homophobic. To be fair to Jason, isn't Danny basically reinforcing what he said? Do you think, was she suggesting, do you think that it was really difficult for her, or do you think she's suggesting that she's been more accepted now than perhaps
she spoke openly about how accepted she has been and how the AFL have been unbelievably supportive and how they've made her feel. Well, as we said in the interview, and as she said to me, and I knew that she was. I obviously thought she was gay. She's going to gay clubs and things like that, which I'd heard of. So I didn't know the extent of her position or transgender and all of that sort of stuff. But I just thought that Dean at the time might have been gay, and no one couldn't. It was nobody's business. And that when we're talking 90s, I think the game. I don't think anyone that came out in whatever form they would like, I think the support would be unbelievably positive. And once again, because you're going to get some people that would be critical about anything, and that's the sad life that they live. But I think that it would be overwhelmingly positive. I don't know what you think.
No, I think you've summed it up pretty well, and it leads into this next message from Andrew Andy. Very insightful and interesting interview. There's always going to be nasty and condescending behaviour towards people who look outwardly different, which is a bit sad. People fear or mock what they don't understand or don't want to understand, and I think that goes beyond sexual identity. Then we've got T. Kinvey here. Duck, you had this great person by your side. You had the great swatter as well. Both people suffering incredible demons at the time, but look at what they accomplished in that environment. Did you know about Wayne Swass's, mental demons at that time, or is that something that only became more apparent post-footy with him?
Knew that he battled some elements of depression and other things because, there was... You always knew that whether it be a training session you miss here or a training session you miss there. So you always knew there were little things, but not to the extent. I had no idea in '96, for instance, that he didn't really enjoy that, and was thinking negatively as much as what he was. But always knew there was an underlying thing with Schwatter as well, because he would go through these and he speaks incredibly well about it now. But he went through a lot of peaks and troughs, and as a player as well, because he's the best player that I played with.
Really?
At North.
Yeah.
So
in terms of just pure talent.
just pure talent.
Yeah.
Like his defence, his speed, his skill, and everything. You know, like he could get on a run. He could play 8 blinders in a row. But he's also a player that if he, was down, then he could be down for a period, and that was sort of like him in a way off the ground. You could have an incredibly good time with Schwatter off the ground, and then he could be incredibly reserved for 2 or 3, for weeks later. So there were peaks and troughs. So you always knew there was an underlying thing, but he was someone that at the time never spoke to. I think he spoke. He's come out and said he did speak to Harry Unglick. Had a big say. He was speaking to Harry, our club doctor, for a long time through that. But it is incredible, and that's why when people be nasty in this world, and when you walk down the street sometimes, and we've all done it. Sometimes when I walk down, I'm a people watcher.
Yeah,
not a perv. I'm a people watcher, right? So I like looking at people, and I like. Just I don't know. Where are they from? Are they from overseas? Are they from Australia? I try to. What do they do? So when I'm walking down the beach and I'm staring at you, I'm not, not being a weirdo. I'm just
watching the world.
Watching the world go by. And sometimes you'll go past people, and I'm a good morning person. So if I walk back past someone, I go good morning, or good afternoon, or a smile. Or just a nod of the head, right? Now, you walk past some people and you don't get anything. And, there's, and like I said, we've all done this at times. You walk past and go, oh, that was a bit rude, because you might have given them a good morning and you haven't received anything back. You don't know what's going on in people's lives. They could have had the worst morning ever. Could have had a small accident and put a dent in the car. They could have, a passing in the family the night before, like all of these things, and we just judge, and we're too quick to think it's about you, and not understand that people have so many things going on in their lives, and so if you do get someone that's a bit grumpy on a day, or is acting a little bit differently, you sometimes just, are you okay? It's okay to say you okay, and if they don't want to speak to you about it, then you move on. But we judge far too quickly on looks and moods, and we take it personally. It's like when someone lies to you. Why would they lie? No, that's not on you. It's on them. They're lying for their reason. Don't worry about the lie. That's their issue. I'm getting all philosophical.
This is unbelievable. You've gone so deep here, Duck. I was not expecting this. Now, before we leave the Danny Laidley discussion, this is from Mark67. Duck, have you seen since the episode that Danny's been named in the hottest 100 women? So I think you know about this. Tell me about this. This isn't a magazine, is it? So
I don't know. Maximus or something like that. Very clever, and I'm going to say very clever, because I guess anything that Danielle's linked to now, is going to create a headline, and by them doing that. Now, I have no problems in saying this. I have no problems. And she's not in my top 100. Well, I have no problem with saying she's not in my, she wouldn't be in my top 100.
As you say, she would
We're talking about world here.
Yeah, she would understand that too.
We're talking about the world.
Yeah.
Right? Now, I'm just saying.
Having seen your interaction with her last week, I think she'd have a chuckle at that, though.
Yeah, well, I don't think Danny would sit there and say, oh, that surprises me, Duck. If I was to line up the hottest 100 girls in the world and say you didn't quite make it. I mean, but you know what? Fantastic for all transgender women out there, and it once again creates discussion and all of the above. I would like to see the panel, and I would like to see who, or whether it's one person. I don't know who voted on the top 100. I'd like to. I haven't seen the top 100, by the way. I don't know who they had in the top 10 or
I haven't.
Whatever.
Not for me. So I haven't looked at it.
Okay. Well, maybe we should have a look at it.
Maybe we should. We'll do that for next week. No, we won't do that for next week's episode.
She was very good, by the way. I got a really nice text from Danny, and I'm rapt that she came on. It was great.
It was good, and for me as an outsider, seeing you've still got that connection as teammates.
We're premiership teammates.
Yeah, and so that nothing changes that for life.
No.
Just finally, we won't go through them all, but we've had Justin Lepage since then, and a really interesting deep dive into his philosophies, as we mentioned a little earlier. This is from Peter. Pleasure to see how an unexpected legend was fortunate to fulfill an incredible football destiny through an alignment of elements. Clear thinker and enunciator, well-chosen language from a man who became educated through the unlikely classroom of football. That's deep too, Peter. He and McRae together, without them, Collingwood might not have won that flag.
Yeah.
He can speak about the game really well and narrow down what he wants and what he means. So you can see why he's going to do that sort of coaching director type role, couldn't you?
Oh, he'll be incredibly good at it, and he's you know what, Leper's just a good bloke too. He's just really a good person, and like he's got that Midas touch. Everywhere he goes now, just seems to the success is following him. So you know, if you are after someone, you know, involved in footy, why wouldn't you headhunt Leper?
I'm not sure he was too thrilled with the Barmy comparison you gave.
Oh, well, he's not. I think he took that as, you know, Barmy used to be a bigger lad. I think I wasn't having a go at his.
See, Barmy actually wouldn't be. He'd have some stories to tell.
Barmy would be a good guest,
and because
actually.
He's had his,
he'd be good
he's
guest.
had his health
Great
challenges
guest.
more recently
Yes.
as well. So, but just on the topic of guests, this is from Dyna Madness Adventures. Great interview. Should get Dunstall and Heard on the podcast. Remember Pig Jimmy and Roo Boy? That was great. Anyway, Jeff, great video. Keep it coming. You'd probably try and forget that, wouldn't you?
What, Pig Jimmy Roo Boy?
Yeah.
Very good show. I used to do Wayne's Wonders of the Week.
That was bad television.
Hey, that was radio.
Didn't you? What was
We wrote a book.
What was the one
There
that
was
you
a book.
did those three on TV then? What was the
No. That was a different. That was
Live and Kicking? What was?
Oh yeah, that was different. But
Sorry, I was thinking
Wayne
Live
Wonders of the Week. I remember. Do you want to quickly tell you one?
Okay.
Why is it that you never see a baby seagulls? Baby seagulls. You ever seen one?
Tell me why I don't.
Well, that's why it's a wonder.
That is horrific. Do you think Dunstall would come on? How do you get on with Jace from your Triple M days?
No, Jason and I get along well. He doesn't tolerate nitwit, so I'm not sure he'd come on with
With me?
us. No,
I thought you were
he's
referring to me
beauty.
then.
I have spoken to Hurdy. We've got to get to Hurdy. We've spoken. He's gone underground a bit again, so I've got to reach out.
Would be great to chat to James. Duck, what an episode. We have covered a lot of ground there and some really varied topics. Glad you got
Interesting week.
I know you've got to get back to your phone
Back
and
to
back
Twitter.
to Twitter. I just picture you lying there with your guns out because you're obviously very happy with your tan that you got at the moment.
No, I just got a bit of colour. My arm's coming back. Look.
On your phone though, just tweeting away with the cocktail in your hand. Especially for someone who is notorious for not writing back to text. You're not a texter, are you?
No, I'm a caller.
You're a caller and you're a caller and
I'm a caller and a tweeter when I've got time. So if you're getting replies or there's lots of tweets, I'm generally somewhere, where I've kids aren't around or whatever, and I've the sun's on my back.
Another great episode of The Truth Hurts. Look forward to seeing your Twitter work over the next week, and I'll see you again soon, Duck.
You can either take the red pill, you'll wake up, everything was a dream, or you can take the black pill, you can get torched.
Well, I suppose getting torched won't hurt that much. I don't feel anything.
Wait for it.
Oh, wait. I just got a new client.
Get torched. Get torched. Get torched.